evening and welcome to Straight Talk. This is Eugene Chan and our guest tonight is Ms. Maria Tan Wei-Ju. She is our senior political leader in Hong Kong and a barrister by profession. She is the Deputy Director of the Hong Kong SAR Basic Law Committee under the National People's Congress Standing Committee. She was involved in the drafting of the Basic Law and is an expert. We are very privileged tonight to have her to talk to us about the national security law and whether Hong Kong has become a better place. Welcome, Maria.
Thank you, Eugene, for asking me to come. Thank you.
Right. Maria, I understand you have just returned from Beijing, attending the 100th anniversary of celebration of the Chinese Communist Party.
Yes.
Can you share with us your experiences, especially regarding to the COVID situation?
Oh, well, it's a great birthday party. The COVID situation is in reign. There are some cases in southern part of the country, but Beijing, there's no problem there. Vaccination rate is at 20 million per day, countrywide. And people are very happy. You see people not wearing masks and all that. But of course, all sorts of stringent arrangements and checks being done beforehand. So it's a very happy birthday party because China has completed a Herculean task of lifting everybody from the poverty line.
Yes.
The spaceship has gone, and it's now joined up with the space station, which is a great achievement. And the economy is going well, and the United Nations and Harvard University poll shows that of all the countries in the world, China ranked first in terms of its people supporting and trusting in its government, 92%, which is quite something. So it's a very happy occasion.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that, and thank you for giving us first-hand information, because I was watching the television news and all that, and you can see people are very happy. I was wondering whether it's only what we see on television, what is it off camera? That was the reason why I asked you that question.
Well, I sort of go to Beijing every 2 months, and believe you me, I can see from ordinary people in the street, they're very happy with the improvement that's been achieved in their life.
Right. And President Xi Jinping also addressed the nation.
Yes.
And can you just share with us part of his speech where he sort of, if it had directed about Hong Kong or Macau, the SAR?
Yes. As far as Hong Kong is concerned, of course, resolutely continuing the policy of one country, two systems, supporting Hong Kong's stability and prosperity. Of course, Hong Kong has a responsibility of safeguarding sovereignty, national interests, national security. And this is already well phased and well versed in many other speeches. One other point he made, which is not strictly in the Hong Kong paragraph, is to say that if any foreign country should wish to interfere with China's internal affairs, they're going to meet with the stone wall or the steel wall of the people of China.
Right.
And they're going to bash their head with blood all over the face.
Yeah, I heard that too. On that, I think Professor Low Siu Kai has mentioned that if the foreign powers are still intervening the internal affairs, then that means Hong Kong will more or less become more of a target. That means the need to getting out Article 23 is much more imminent than before. Do you agree?
I would agree, but actually, when the NSL was passed, it's already in the resolution by the Standing Committee that we should finish sort of updating and implementing a new Article 23 security laws in Hong Kong as soon as early as possible.
Right.
The words are as early as possible.
Right. Since we just mentioned NSL, which is the National Security Law, that was enacted in Hong Kong on June 30th last year. And honestly, there's still a lot of apprehension in the society, especially it's a new law. And some of us may not be very familiar with it. So do you think, being an expert, sorry, I call you an expert, can you refresh our memories and give us a very brief outline on, say, what is it? And why was it suddenly brought in last year for those viewers who may not be fully aware?
Okay. Ostensibly, we're supposed to enact our own law safeguarding national security. under Article 23 of the Basic Law, which is written in the central and local government relationship, Chapter 2 of the Basic Law, which means that it is not within our purview or high degree of autonomy. It's a matter for the central government, because the wording is that Hong Kong shall, SAR shall enact such a law, not may enact such law. So you have to do it. So we have to do it, but we didn't do it for 23 years.
4 years now.
Yes, coming 24 years. And then what happened, if you look at 2014, the Standing Committee has a resolution which said you can have universal suffrage of the chief executive by 2017. Well, it was being sort of thrown out of LegCo, especially by those who turned out later to be involved in the riots in 2019 and 2020, and some being disqualified thereafter. So it's the same group of people. And at that time, they say, look, nomination has to be by civic nomination. We're not going to follow it basic law. So I think it dawned on the central government in 2014 that perhaps we're not facing an issue of universal suffrage or not. Maybe it's something else. Maybe somebody wants a political system by bypassing the basic law. But of course, by 2019, it was very obvious.
That's very obvious, yes. So Maria?
Well, our daily life is disrupted. Hong Kong's economy is badly affected. And the police seized over 3,000 petrol bombs in Chinese University and 3,000 petrol bombs in Polytechnic University. Airport was shut. Innocent bystanders being attacked.
It was
Police
a nightmare.
And family suffered doxing. So obviously, it's a terrorist and a violent riot.
Yes.
And something has to be done. And that, I think, is the main reason why the central government decided that.
That was why it brought in.
We have to enact the NSL.
Right. So we're going to move on. And it has been in for 1 year now. In your opinion, has it done what it's supposed to be? Restore order, stability, and security? Has it made Hong Kong a better place? A simple answer?
I think so. I think law and order. For 12 years before 2018, our crime rate has been dropping. In 2018, we ranked number 5 in the Global Law and Order Index by Gallup poll. By 2019, we dropped to number 82.
82?
Yes, 77 places. So what happened is that it's very, very clear that that riot is affecting law and order very badly for Hong Kong. So you imagine if you live in a place that has no law and order, it must be restored. I think the NSL has helped to restore it. Without going into details, we can, except for COVID situations, go back to our normal routine now.
How do you think Hong Kong's autonomy has been maintained with the NSL?
Oh, yes, no problem about that.
Because a lot of people say that we don't have the autonomy anymore. By the Western media as well, yeah.
I understand. Well, I even heard that the Western media criticized this as being an infringement of the Joint Declaration.
Yes.
National security is not an issue to be negotiated between Britain and China. It's an internal issue.
Yes.
So it cannot have anything to do with the Joint Declaration. And I was on the side, and I know that it was never the issue.
Right.
So,
Maria, no, I want to ask you on behalf of our viewers.
Yeah.
I mean, they have heard all this about the NSL, National Security Legislation. What has that got to do with the person on the street? Has Hong Kong changed because of that for them to live? Because the reason why I say that is the Human Rights Watch are saying that many people in Hong Kong, they don't dare to talk about politics or criticize the government because of fear of punishment, because one of the punishment for NSL is life imprisonment. So some of my friends are saying to me they dare not talk about politics.
I can understand the apprehension, and given time, the message will sink in that our rights and freedoms are being protected. If you look at Article 4 of the NSL, it says human rights shall be respected and protected and safeguarded by the national security law in the SAR. Rights, freedoms, including the freedom of speech, of press, of publication, of association, assembly, procession, and demonstration, enjoyed under the Basic Law and the international covenants continue.
Right. So you're saying that they don't have to be overreacting?
They don't have to be overreacting.
They don't have to worry, yes.
What what I want them to understand is that even for the United Nations Convention, we have to show respect for reputation of others, and the basic law is for the protection of national security, public order, and public health and public morals. So what happens is even if you enjoy all those rights, you cannot infringe the group of protection that is required under the United Nations Convention. Here in Hong Kong, we strictly adhere to that. So if it's a matter of national security, you can have restriction on those rights and freedoms. But we use a common law system, and these principles are being enunciated in the European courts and definitely in UK, and that is, if you satisfy the judge that this restriction is in proportion with what you need to protect, then you're okay. So as long as things are in proportion, that will be all right.
Maria, we'll come back after the break. But my question will be for the viewers, what are the main elements that they need to remember so that they won't cross the red line?
Okay.
Okay, don't go away.
Right.
Welcome back. We've been talking to Ms. Maria Tam about the national security law and what it has done to Hong Kong. And before the break, I asked Maria the question on behalf of the viewers, what are the main elements that they need to remember so that they won't cross the red line? That means they can be assured.
Chapter 3 of the NSL says there are 4 types of offenses we must not commit.
Right.
First one is succession. That is, you don't organize, plan, commit, or participate using force or otherwise in any activity with a view to undermine national unity. The second one is subversion, which means that you don't organize, plan, commit, or participate in any of the following acts, which would threaten or subvert the state power. It could be against the central government. It could be against the Hong Kong government. The third one is terrorist activities. That is, you use force and you're damaging or destroying public utilities, public properties, and you're threatening the safety of individuals, all this with a view to achieve certain political aims.
Right.
And then finally, there should be no collusion with foreign country or external elements to endanger national security by perhaps stealing papers, stealing information, or waging war against China, or undermining the elections, or imposing sanction or blockade on Hong Kong or China, or providing unlawful means so as to create hatred among the residents of Hong Kong towards the central government or HKG, Hong Kong government. If you don't do any of those things, you're all right.
Okay.
That's your red line.
Right, Maria. I think another concern that I think when I talk to some people in Hong Kong are they're worried about the legal system. See, the national security legislation is using the common law system for trial, so they can be assured that they will have the right representation, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Let's move on to some common myths of NSL, because I think it's very fortunate to have you here tonight. We can ask some questions, so to let the viewers know.
Okay.
See, on Friday, July 2nd, 2021, the US lawmakers have urged President Biden to address the assault on Hong Kong democracy. The reason why they say that is there have been quite a reaction, particularly by the international media, when the police raided the Apple Daily newspaper base and arrested the directors, the editors, and writers. What do you think about the case?
Well, I think it all depends on the evidence. If there's no evidence that they could have committed, a crime under NSL or existing laws in Hong Kong, then why should the police arrest them?
Right. So
and
the journalists,
those people who are not in Hong Kong, just looking at the reports making such statement. I think they've been very bold.
Right, okay. So the journalists, they shouldn't be worried about the freedom of speech or freedom of press. It hasn't been suppressed,
Well,
has it?
they are protected under Article 4, as I said in part 1 of this interview. Freedom of speech, you can criticize the government, there's no problem whatsoever. But it's quite different if you try to undermine the state power or you try to succession, that is split Hong Kong away from mainland China, or if you try to subvert, you're trying to sort of topple the Hong Kong government or the central government, or you're in collusion with a foreign power to steal information or rig elections and, commit the things that I mentioned earlier on. So no problem as long as you
So
stay
that means
away
the
from-
journalists who are arrested, or the directors and editors and writers, they are not being taken in because of their position. It was
they're
something
not being
else.
taken, I'm sure they're not being taken because of freedom of expression,
Right.
or the fact they criticize the government. But I can see from the press that, first of all, the case is under investigation, and secondly, apparently they published over 10 articles, which might involve I don't know, either collusion with foreign power because, they were inviting foreign power to impose sanctions in Hong Kong. That is a matter of evidence. I'm sure it's got nothing to do with freedom of the
So
press.
I'll move on to another myth. The annual July 1st procession was not approved last year, and neither this year. And a lot of people are concerned the people to right to assembly has been taken away. And Hong Kong is said to have a human rights emergency. What is your comment?
I think without the COVID situation, I think they should be allowed to have right of assembly. I don't think they're being sort of stopped or no authorization is being made to them because of the fact that government wants to suppress freedom of assembly. I think it's a COVID situation.
Well, I'll give you another one. Previously, it had been said the national security law only aimed to deal with a small number of people, but to protect majority of the community in Hong Kong. I understand that there are 107 people have been arrested under the NSL already. What do you say to that? 107 isn't a small number.
It depends on the evidence. It's very difficult to say whether it is a small number or a big number, but whoever is being brought to court, there would be enough evidence to, first of all, have a prima facie case. If you can secure a conviction, it has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt, regardless of who you are and regardless of the numbers involved.
Okay. I'll give you another one. I thought trial without jury is an exception. But why has been the first case already on that, the very first case, that there's no jury on it? Is it because we don't trust the jury system?
No, nothing to do with that. Under 3 types of circumstances, the Secretary for Justice can decide on whether there could be a jury or should be a jury. If there is a case of state secrets being involved, then, you may not have a jury trial, but you can have a panel of judges.
Okay.
The other type is when there are foreign relations or foreign issues involved. The third type is when the juror or the family safety is being threatened. Under those 3 types of circumstances, the Secretary of Justice can say, look, it's not going to be a jury trial, it's going to be a panel trial.
Okay. I'll give you the last one. Amnesty International, Ms. Teresa Bergman, said that in the past year, the law brought Hong Kong closer to a police state and created an atmosphere of fear. All aspects of society, from politics to culture, education to the media, can feel this atmosphere. She's also calling the UN Human Rights Council to arrange an urgent debate on the human rights situation in Hong Kong and China. How should all these foreign interventions be dealt with properly? Because, it looks like we have been, that's not the true situation, as you said, a very bold
not
comment.
The true situation.
How can we be proactive to prevent such inaccurate portrayals of Hong Kong?
Well, frankly, here in Hong Kong, we walk about in the streets, and I have personally not heard anybody going to the extreme of saying we are living in a police state. If you need help, the police will still help you, regardless of whether they think you're blue or yellow. Okay? But this kind of allegation from the international media and some, self-righteous human rights groups, it's a long, long battle we have to fight, and we need to fight with skill, with good knowledge of how their mind work, and with facts. It cannot be done by me giving you an answer. It's going to be something that both the central government and the local and the Hong Kong government will have to do together.
Right.
Explaining the real situation in Hong Kong.
So maybe a straight talk as a start.
Straight talk is a start, but you should have at least 1 hour per program.
Running out of time, isn't it? And also another sort of a basis of what they're saying is because recently our former Secretary for Security, Mr. John Lee, and which also the Deputy Police Commissioner previously, has moved on, promoted to the post of the Chief Secretary, whereby our past Police Commissioner, Mr. Chris Tang, is now the Secretary for Security. So they are saying that this is a police state. Do you agree?
Oh, it's definitely not a police state. I mean, as I said, lots of people who criticize Hong Kong hasn't actually come here and see how things work. I think it's just, it's internationally, China and Hong Kong has been misunderstood because some long-standing history and the differences, culture, and, one's own belief in one's own political system. As I said, it's not something that could be resolved in 23-minute program.
Maria, let's move on another topic that I'm sure many viewers would like to hear of your opinion. We have a recent terrorist incident on the 1st of July, whereby there was an attempted murder case of a uniformed police officer. The government and the police have classified it as a lone wolf terrorist attack, which has never been done before. Do you think terrorism finally exists in Hong Kong? And what is the role of NSL in this?
Terrorism is already there in 2019. There's far more violence than just towards one individual. Mm-hmm. And actually, there was one bystander. He's a cleaner. He was being killed by a brick on his head. Terrorism is already there, but this particular one is a lone wolf one, unless the investigation proves otherwise. Mm-hmm. So it's there, and we have to investigate first to find out whether there is security danger, mm-hmm. and secondly, there is a longer-term work to be done, and this is because Hong Kong needs a healing process. Mm-hmm. We try to understand that there has to be some common values that we keep to, such as respect for law and order. Okay. I think it's a sad thing to see parents bringing their kids around with a white flag. Mm-hmm. How is the children going to learn while they're in school that the teacher tell them that you have to keep law and order and be a law-abiding citizen? Because that is the norm. That is the thing that makes sure everybody in the society is safe. How is the kid going to react?
Right, Maria, time has gone very fast. We are coming to the end of the show. I want to thank you again, and I'm sure we're going to invite you back very soon to clarify some of the issues from other viewers.
Final word, never glorify or sympathize with violence.
Totally agree. Thank you for watching. Have a good week. Good night.
Thank you.